Hello guys. Today I went for a medical exam and this got me thinking about MGTOW and drugs and food and how we take care of our bodies and how that relates to freedom. I want to begin by saying that there are many stories of creation regarding how man first appeared on this earth, and that, in fact, there are perhaps as many as there have been civilizations on the planet. And that is because man apparently creates gods to explain the unexplainable. But today, in the age where science has cured us, it has clued us in on the ways in which the human body works. I have my own story of creation. I believe that one day, a bunch of people woke up in the middle of the African savannah and they soon found out that they had consciousness. That's it. That's the story, nothing more. But then an interesting thing happened. They soon found out that they had a plethora of problems. They were too cold. They were too hot. They were prey to big cats and wolves. They were confused, afraid, fearful, and they were ignorant of it all. They literally did not know their butt from their elbows. And furthermore, since there was little else to do other than to survive and acquire the necessary resources to do so, they began to compare themselves to each other. This led to envy and to strife. But there was one thing, one problem that trumped them all. The problem of having to constantly appease their bodies through the ingestion, the taking in, that is, of foreign substances. The substances found in their environment. In addition to drinking the groundwater they needed to consume the plants around them, they ate the roots, the stems, the flowers. They ate the fruit, the seeds, and the berries. And while they did that, not only did they come up with names for everything, they also found out that every substance they consumed created in their bodies a unique set of conditions, a mental state, if you will, accompanied by a physical state. Soon, man began to experiment with ingesting certain combinations of these substances. He discovered that certain plants were at once his food and medicine, his drugs, if you will. But he discovered that the plants he consumed, every one of them, also brought undesired changes to his body. He discovered that substances were best consumed in small quantities, somewhere. Like what later came to be known as herbs and spices. It all became such a vast and complex subject, the knowledge of plants, that is, that a specialist was born from all of it, the so-called medicine man. For thousands of years before the rise of commercialized Western medicine, man, and in particular the medicine man, had intimate knowledge of the plants that surrounded him. He also knew the animals as well, and knew that some were consumable also. But only plants appeared to have the power to really heal. But in a very disingenuous way, man corrupted plants. He began to let some plants decay via fermentation and to drink the liquid that such process yielded. How weird. Alcohol, he called it. Plants were dried for future consumption, stored in frozen underground, and for future consumption too. They were pickled. He cured them. They were cooled under water and in caves. They were dipped in sugar, and later he canned them. And with every processing method, the power of these plants decayed. But there were two significant changes brought to the food supply of man by man himself. The first was the application of fire to foods and to drugs, which turned virtually all plants toxic and made drugs addictive. Even cocaine and tobacco are medicinal and do not become addictive until cooked and foreign chemicals are added to them. At this point, I want to recommend a book for those who appear or seem to be more interested in the subject. The title of the book is The Raw Food Diet by Stephen Arlen's and two other authors there whose names I forget. But on to the second major change here. There was another change, and this second major change brought about by man to the supply of food and drugs was the creation of artificial, quote-unquote, medicine via a laboratory. This was done in the name of science and as a disguise for the creation and the accumulation of huge profits. The body rejects all of these. Naturally, after all, how can a natural entity be brought to a state of balance in health via artificial substance consumption? Now, what does all this have to do with MGTOW, you ask? Well, it's imperative that the man who goes his own way controls the substances that go in his body so as not to become a slave to these substances. It's still possible to be happy and sick, that's right. But why not be happy and healthy too? The importance of health cannot be overestimated, rather. And perhaps the most important reason why MGTOW men should have as much control over what goes into their bodies is the freedom that can be had because of it. In 1987, the psychologist Ivan Pavlov, and I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing this name correctly here. I know the last name is Pavlov, and he published the findings of an experiment that he had been conducting with dogs and food. Basically, he rang a bell just before every mealtime for the dogs. And as time went on, soon the animals began associating the sound of the bell with being fed. Now he kept at this for some extended period of time, and then one day he rang the bell but put no meal in front of the dogs. And what he discovered was nothing short of astounding. The dogs salivated anyways. Now I mentioned this study because controlling someone's food is also a powerful way to manipulate them. And historically, traditionalist women laid claims over the house's kitchen area with that purpose in mind. In countries that have not undergone heavy industrialization, such as the United States, the UK, and most, Canada and some of the Western countries, women appear to chain themselves to the stove, and they do this because it gives them power to dictate the direction of the household. It is my suggestion that you control and be the owner of your own destiny, and that you maintain your health in optimum condition by planning, purchasing, preparing, cooking, storing, and if at all possible, even producing some of your food. Unless, of course, like Pavlov's dogs, you too want to be salivating over nothing when a woman rings a bell. MGTOW, I thank you for listening to this video, watching this and listening to this video. And if you like what you have heard and you feel as though you've learned something new, please do give it a thumbs up, like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. I have many more things to talk about in the future. Thank you.